Okay, so welcome to my Romanian deadlift tutorial. I'm going to take you through my coaching points and tips to get you through the Romanian deadlift. I'm going to take you through what I do as my warm-up, as my mobility. This is going to be a lengthy video. Be prepared to scan forwards. But I'm going to take you through mobility, I'm going to take you through foam rolling, I'm going to take you through some band work, and I'm going to try and talk a little bit less. So without further ado, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my lats. Now the lats run to the side of the body. What I want to do is take my elbow away from my body as high as I can around the back, and I'm just going to lie from my shoulder blade down towards my ribs. I'm going to lean slightly forwards and I'm going to lean slightly back, and I'm going to move around, and I'm looking for discomfort. I'm looking for tightness. I typically do have tight lats anyway. When you get to the shoulder blade, you'll find as you get lower towards the armpit, it's going to kind of pinch a little bit, and that's the introduction to your teres major minor. So if it gets too uncomfortable on the teres, just roll out of it slightly and watch my elbow. I pull my shoulder blade up, and now I'm actually on the back of my shoulder blade. I need to do this anyway, and I'd recommend most people do this. Welcome to your infraspinatus. And then I'm going to go back into my lats. I'm going to hover around the teres. Can't find any discomfort, move on. Don't waste your time on here. I see a lot of people, they'll spend 10 minutes on foam rolling, when really you only need to spend 2 to 3 minutes. I'm looking for discomfort. I'm back on my infraspinatus, because for me, I do have rather delicate shoulders anyway. Find a sore spot, hold on to it. It's not going to go straight away. It might go from a 5 out of 5 down to a 3, maybe even a 2, and then just move on. The idea is that you keep coming and doing it. But my teres are very, very sore. But your teres major minors are always going to be a little bit sore anyway. From here, I'm going to be on my lower back where my rib cage ends, and you're going to get the soft part of your back. You don't want to be in the lumbar vertebrae. You want to be on the lower part of what we call the thoracic, which is the bits that can move. Hands behind the head, and all we're going to do is extend as far over as we can, taking the head with us. Come back up and roll over again. Roll over. Do 2 to 3. Then we're going to literally move our butt down an inch and repeat. Again, I don't want to spend too long here. Now this is for extension of my spine. See how my elbows are flared out? My shoulder blades are together, forming a plate, and they're just allowing me to extend. Once I've done a few of those, I'm going to come back to the beginning. I'm now going to hug myself, and I'm going to remove the shoulder blades to expose the tissue in the middle. And then I'm just going to roll the foam roll on the tissue between the shoulder blades. And again, I'm just looking for discomfort. I'm going to be putting a lot of stress on my back during this exercise, and I just want to make sure I don't have any small little niggly knots. If you have big knots, you might want to go and get them massaged out. Just to loosen up the inside of my thighs. But again, I'm not going to spend too much time here. And I'll fast forward this. We're going to go and do the closed V. There are muscles that are attached to the outside of the knee that get stretched when we're in this position, and then you have muscles that are attached to the underside of the knee that get stretched in this position. You don't need to know names. They're not important for you. Hands on the ankles. I'm going to put my elbow on my thigh, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure just to try and increase the stretch, the range of motion in my groin. Nothing too much, and then finally I take a foot across my knee. I hug my knee with my opposite elbow, clasp my hands, and I just squeeze. And all I'm trying to do is just pull my knee across my body to stretch out my glutes, only a little bit. Nothing too stressful. Remember in the previous video, for those of you that have been watching, across, we have a level of elasticity, of pliability. We walk around in a certain state. And if we suddenly stretch ourselves, Like imagine from a yoga session. Coming out of a yoga session, you're in a completely different elasticated state. I use the word elasticated because I think it's the best one that you will understand. So then to go and train, your body's not used to being in that state and you're more prone to hurting yourself. So you don't want to stretch too long at the beginning, but at the end, feel free to stretch out for as long as you want. Okay. Do not hold on to a band like this. When you're holding on to a band like this, you're creating tension in your body and your arm. You're trying to use the band to stretch your body. You know what? I'll start on this side just for you guys. All right. So from here, the lats are internal rotators. So what I want to do is externally rotate my hand. So I'm going to have the band wrapped around my wrist, and I'm going to hold on to the band with my fingertips. From here, I'm going to turn my thumb to the ceiling, so I externally rotate the internal rotators of the lats. Make sense? I can bend over this way, or what I prefer is to take a knee. What I do is I will sit down on the knee that is holding the band. So that way I get to stretch throughout all of my lats and my shoulders as well. If it's not enough, move further back. And if it is too much, there you go, you got it. All right, so keep my thumb at 12 and just push down. Now for me personally, I like to just get some mobility in that shoulder as well. And it's not specific to the warm up. I just want to get those lower traps involved, just warm them up because they're very lazy. I'll talk about them on another day. Stretch, move. If I want to sit up, I'm just going to stretch, warm up my shoulders. Now I know I'm not using my shoulders during this exercise, but I'm definitely going to be using my lats. So I want to make sure we just get some blood flow, some contraction, relaxation through the lats, and just stretch it out. I'm going to do the other one, but you're not going to see it. So from my last video, remember, we established the ability to grind through the hips, to pump and groove. The ischium drives up, shout out to the ischiums. Ischium up to the ceiling, stand back up again. Find this. If you can't manage this, you're not here, all right? So lift up, squeeze. Let's test that, shall we? PVC pipe around the back, hand on the small of the back. I don't do this, this is for you. So just to confirm, 3 points of contact, I bend over, I keep that butt, shoulders and head tucked into the pipe. And all I'm gonna do is just stretch, lift. If I'm happy with this, take my hands around with the PVC pipe around the front, do exactly the same. Stretch, press, stretch. Back should stay strong, back should stay straight. Nice and easy. You should get a nice little pull. Remember, it's not important how low you go with the bar, it's how important that you hike the hips up behind you. Because remember, we're taking that ischium away from the knee, we're taking the hamstrings up and away, so I want to get that stretch. Okay, so I always want to make sure that when I start my lifts, every single setup is exactly the same. So even with the bar, I'm going to come underneath the bar, I'm going to pull my shoulders back, I'll explain that in a second. Shoulders back, up strong, I take a short step backwards. From here, we're just going to do exactly the same as what we did with the PVC pipe. Hike my hips up to the ceiling, push, lift, 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 push my hips up to the ceiling, bang. And I'm just going to go through 6. It's all still just warming up. When I put the bar down, I always use my knees. I'm not going to be putting here because as the bar gets heavier, I need to make sure that I'm good with my form. So why not be good with my form now? Yeah. We still want to create some elasticity through those hamstrings. So all I'm going to do is a hip swing. I'm lifting my foot up as high as I can without compromising my back. I'll show you on the other side. Remember, I don't need to be doing this. Nice tall posture. I'm basically pulling my knee away from the ischium. Whereas from this one, the ischium's moving away from the knee. Now I'm just moving that knee away from the pelvis, away from the ischium. The adductors, abduction, adduction. Notice that my bottom foot doesn't move. I don't spin off of the bottom foot, okay? We're just warming up. But now, we're starting to become a little bit more specific in the warm-up. This is much more specific than sitting on a bike, yeah? So before I pick it up, I want to lock my lats into position. You'll see the squeeze from here. That's creating tension in my back. The muscles in the back, they connect into a fascia in the lower back, and that's gonna connect to my glutes and hamstrings. You need to be tight. The first thing I'm gonna do, squeeze, lift, take a short step back. That's all I need to do. Nice tall posture. Drive my hips up to the ceiling, stretch, 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 stretch. Come back up again. I'm only gonna do 6s today because it's just gonna be too long to watch me. Slow on the way down. Actually, let's cut 2 reps out. Now you'll notice that my depth, look at how far I can get down. I bend my knees to put the weight back. Notice how low I can go in the beginning. As the weight gets progressively heavier, you'll notice that I won't be able to go quite so low because I don't have quite as much stability at the bottom when the weight increases. And that's with everybody. So one thing I want you to be aware of are my shoes. Now, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction into the ground. So when you have shoes that have got these very cute, bubbly insoles, the action, the weight from the bar is being pushed and dissipated through the bubble before it comes back out of you. So if you're doing heavy lifts, in any case, I'd recommend lifting shoes, hardened flat shoes, or bare feet, or socks. Be aware of your environment. If you're wearing bare feet, blah, 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 and all that stuff, you're at your own risk, okay? But things with bubbles in, things that look flash and springs and all that stuff that we have now available, don't use that. That's just for show, yeah? It's just for making you look fancy. So I'm gonna do another set because I need to warm up properly. But I'm gonna speed this one up. Still while I'm warming up, while I'm resting, I can now open up my hip flexors. So I'm gonna squeeze my butt, brace through my abdominals and just hike my hips forwards, 15 to 20 seconds. You're not gonna see all of this. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you from the back when I activate my lats to create tension through my upper back. So again, chest up, twist, short step back, reposition the feet underneath the hips. Again, I'll speed these up after the first few reps. You don't need to see all 6. And again, my depth is pretty good right now, just because the weight is comfortable. Rest. When it comes to rest periods, depending on the exercise that you're doing and what you're trying to get out of the exercise will determine how much rest you need. For people that are looking for hypertrophy and metabolic stress and damage to the tissue, you might want to get away with a little less rest and a little more work. For 6 to 8 reps, this would qualify as more of a strength to hypertrophy phase of training. Anything lower, 3 to 6 reps, would definitely be in your strength phase. But I think for this, the nature of this exercise and for fundamentalists, for people learning, you don't need to be doing strength just yet, you need to be learning the fundamentals. I'm not a fan of giving anyone less than 3 reps unless they're highly experienced with regards to their ability to train and their training age, which is another subject for another matter. Okay, that talk has taken me through my rest period. Nice and tall, nice and strong. The weight's starting to get a little bit more heavier now, but again, still the same posture. Feet underneath the hips, shoulders back, take a breath. And again, I'll fast forward through this last 3. So when it comes to grip in the beginning, I'm using a neutral grip where both of my palms are facing towards me. You're obviously not going to be using a grip where both arms are away from you, but you can do what we refer to as a split grip. Now with a split grip, I'm basically pushing with one side, pulling with the other, and it helps me lock my shoulders in, and it helps me lift the bar. I'm much, much stronger in a split grip. However, a lot of people will always preference one side only. And if you think about it, one side is always going to be in external rotation, and one side is always going to be in internal rotation. So as I'm working on this over a long period of time, I may end up having a little bit more of an imbalance in my arms because this arm is so used to being strong, externally rotated, and likewise this one internally rotated. So if I'm always doing this, I'm going to get strong here and less strong on the other side. So my rule of thumb is when I'm working with people that are lifting more than 4 sets, try and be as neutral as you can for as long as you can. Then once you start feeling that the grip is being compromised, more so than the load, you can split to what I refer to as your awkward side grip. You don't have a weak grip. You never have a weak grip. You always have a strong side and a less strong side, or an awkward side. So from now, I'm gonna still try and do one more neutral grip. Then I'm gonna go awkward for a couple and then strong for a couple. So, neutral grip is this. This is my strong side grip. I get to lock myself in the bar. I'm very much stronger here. And then the opposite side, which is my awkward side, still feels much better than the neutral, but I get to just lock out my shoulders in this position here. You're more than welcome to wear wraps, but if you don't wear something to help you, you may find that the weight is compromised by the movement is compromised by your grip, not by the weight in and of itself. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna try a neutral grip for the final time. And again, I'm not gonna take you through all 6. But every rep should look exactly the same. So now I'm going to start to reduce the weight increments. In the beginning, for me personally, it was comfortable. It was comfortable enough for me to make big enough jumps. But now I'm going to just start with the last 4 sets. I imagine I'll start making those smaller, more reserved lifts. I will be going to my awkward side first. But what I want to talk to you now is about breathing. It's very important to have your body tight through your lats, and also to have your body tight through your core. I didn't bring it up until now because I imagine you're not training while I'm doing this exercise. And also in the beginning, I don't need to be quite so diligent with it because the weight is comfortable enough for me to get away with it. If you imagine a tube of toothpaste with the lid on the top, if I was to squeeze in the middle and how the paste will go to the bottom to the top, and they get all jam-packed in the top ends and bottom ends, it's kind of like what happens with the diaphragm. If I was to take a big belly breath, my belly sticks out because my diaphragm's been pulled down and my lungs are full of air. So while I'm holding my breath, I draw my tummy in, and the pressure pushes the viscera, the intestines and my organs, down and pushes the air up to the top. So that tube of toothpaste analogy is right in here, and it just depresses here, pushes up here, and I create what's called intra-abdominal pressure. When I take a big belly breath, I create more tension in my body. And as I'm bending down, I'm going to create more tension through my upper body when I come back up again. Now, when you're breathing, you hold your breath on the way down. So take a deep breath. And as I'm coming up, I let that breath out slowly. You want to release the pressure slowly. If you release the pressure quickly, you lose all that tension. And if you have a heavy enough load, it's going to put more stress to the body, okay? So release the pressure either slowly on the way up, or you just release it when you get to the top, okay? So I'm going to go for 6 again. And this time, pay attention to my breathing. Nice and tall, nice and tight. What about weight belts, you ask? Glad you asked me that. If you notice that when I take my breath, my belly sticks out as my diaphragm goes down, and then I draw that belly in to create that intra-abdominal pressure. So I'm creating tension when my tummy is in. Make sense? When I have a belt, to create the tension, I have to push into the belt to help that belt push into my back to create tension. So because I'm not an Olympic lifter, I'm not a power lifter, I don't lift very heavy, I lift okay, but I don't lift very heavy. I don't feel the need to wear one. I feel that I have a strong enough core to not need one, but also I pay attention to how I lift very, very carefully. I don't think people need to wear a belt when they train. I think most people need to develop the core strength. I've seen people wearing belts on seated rows. They're sitting on a machine, rowing a weight for their back, and they're wearing a belt. So they're kind of completely missing the point and objective of wearing a weight belt. And even if I was to wear a weight belt, I would wear it for the very last few reps or very last few sets of my workout. If I'm going to go to a PR, 1 RM, 3 RM, I might wear one then. But me personally, now I won't wear one because I'm not going to go that heavy or that hard. So that's my strong side grip. Let's go for one more awkward. Saving the last one. So now, as it's starting to get heavier, I want to utilize that rest period a little bit more. For me now, I'm going to be looking to do 4 to 5 reps. So therefore, because of the nature of this exercise and what's required of me, I'm going to take up to 3 minutes rest. Remember how we spoke about those 3 points of contact when you're doing the squats, knees out, turning out? I want those 3 points of contact anytime I'm doing leg-related work. If I'm doing a lunge, if I'm doing a split squat, we want to just keep those 3 balance. We want to keep those 3 points of contact. Whenever I'm going down, these 3 points to keep that knee slightly to the outside as we're doing the exercise. Most times, people forget this because they're focused on the movement, they're focused on getting up and down. And one thing that I'm going to talk about in a later post, there's so many things I want to talk about, is people kind of forget about coming in to train. They come in and they just move around and they move weights around and they don't really understand what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. And most often in times, people are just training for Instagram. People are trying to post for things that look cool, for things that look awesome, and they're going to get some likes. And I know I shit on Instagram a little bit. Hi, Instagram. Don't block me or delete me. But people do a lot of things for attention and for media and for likes, as opposed to let's just train. What's the objective here? The objective here is for me to get systemic stress through my whole body, but also to stress my hamstrings and stress my glutes and my core and everything. It's a this to me is my favorite exercise, which is why I'm spending so long on it. I like this exercise because it just hits so many muscle groups for the one thing. It's relatively safe if you're controlled. If you notice that my spine is exactly the same in every single rep, as the weight gets progressively harder and it gets progressively heavier, my body position doesn't deviate, I'm hoping. I'm going to look at the videos afterwards and go, oh my God, what am I doing? Anyway, so a lot of people, they'll come in and they'll just use shitty forms, they will use shitty technique because they're either being coached or influenced in the wrong way. If you're not feeling strong, confident about it, put it back. Don't hurt yourself doing something stupidly, please, on me. So, without further ado, now it's going to be my strong side grip. How'd it look? Okay, so now it's starting to get heavy for me. I'm only going to do maybe 4 reps of this, but the point I'm trying to get across is that regardless of the weight, the reps need to look exactly the same. Regardless of the weight, my back position and my chest position should be the same. And I've really got to kind of just switch on my head now, so I'm going to go and get myself mentally prepared, and then I'm going to come back into the shot. Okay. So in my last video, I talked about having a soft knee. If you have your legs dead straight, but you have them straight with nothing switched on, the side of your leg should be soft. But as soon as you go to bend it, you should feel a little piece of tendon. That tendon runs from the side of your knee up into your hip, and it attaches into the glute and into the hip flexor at the front, the tension fascia lata. So that band runs up into these muscles. They're the things that I was stretching off earlier. And on the other video, on the kettlebell, digging in, that was releasing that TFL as well. If I can bend this knee, have a soft knee, I create tension in the band. It creates tension, notice the word, in my hip and in my hip flexor, my glute and my hip flexor. So when my knees are soft, I'm activating and integrating these muscles into the lift. If I lock out the legs and I do the same, I switch off my glute, I switch off my TFL, but I isolate the hamstrings. So the old school bodybuilders would do a stiff leg deadlift where they just lock out the legs, they come straight down, and they just isolate the hamstrings, which is great, but I'd rather integrate my glutes and my hip flexors into the exercise. Try and have a soft knee, but if I bend my knee too much, we're starting to deviate away from the hamstrings and utilize more of the glutes. As I go down, as I'm stretching the glutes, I'm starting to work more of the glutes, but that's another story for another day. What I'd like you to focus on at the moment, nice tall posture, slightly soft knee, and position, straight down. Okay, so that was my first working set. This is my second working set, and I'm gonna try with the green as my third and last working set. Typically, I will work between the 5 and 8 rep ranges. I just wanted to illustrate, regardless of the load, my back quality should still always be the same. I'm also fasting right now. It's Ramadan, so I'm joining in on Ramadan and fasting. So I'm not feeling overly energetic. So I'm gonna stick to just 3s. And hopefully, yeah, you'll see that my back position, you'll start to see that my back position should stay the same. My knee position should stay the same. My breathing should stay the same. Everything should stay the same. If your technique starts to fault, so this size. If you find it's getting uncomfortable, so this size. Now there's uncomfortable, and then there's like, this doesn't feel good. If you're at that position where it doesn't feel good, stop. Starting to get heavy now. Okay, so this will be my last working set. I'm gonna need to concentrate. I'm gonna aim for 3, but again, I'm gonna see how I feel. My objective is to do as many as I can with good form, with good technique. Obviously, as you start getting heavier in your own individual lifts, you will have a rate of perceived exertion. How hard do you feel that you're working? You wanna make sure that you're working more than 6 out of 10, and you don't need to be working more than 9 out of 10. Even for the beginners, 6 or 7 out of 10 is perfect. And as you start to get a little bit better, you can push to 8, but I don't feel the need to be pushing people to 9 or 10 unless you're competing. If you're competing, it's a different kettle of fish. We're here at the fundamentals classes. We're gonna be working at, in the beginning, you could even do 5. But if it's less than 5, you may not be getting enough stimulus to the body to create change. 5, 6s, and 7s are great, 8s is great. This might take me personally to a 9 because I'm not in the fundamentals, if you know what I mean. But the point is, if I feel that I can't do any more, I'll just put it back. If I can do more than 3, I'll do more than 3. I know I won't. I'm aiming for 3, I might do 2. But I know that I have to feel how it feels in my body. I have to understand that how many can I do? So many times people are aiming for numbers. They're gonna do 10 reps. They'll do 12 reps. They'll do 6 reps. Don't do reps. Work hard. Work to a level of your capacity that you can do. Try not to sell yourself short and try not to overshoot either. You've got to get this mentality of just push yourself to a level where you go, you know what? Let me just take minus, like I've got 2 left in the body, 3 left in the body. Have an idea of where you're working at and write it down. So maybe the next time when you come and do this, you go, you know what? I could have probably done 4 more reps at my level of 7 out of 10 effort. Although that'll probably be a 6 out of 10, that's another story. So you'll write it down, and then when you do it again, you say, you know what, maybe I can do 1 more rep. Maybe I can work that a little bit harder. It's not all about numbers. It's about how hard you feel you're working. Anyway, I've managed to talk well through my rest period. So this is my last working set. Give me a second. Now, it'll be interesting to see. I didn't feel very good I didn't feel very straight in my back. I felt good. It felt very heavy, very heavy. I felt that I was working to a 9 out of 10 in terms of effort, but in terms of just my tightness in my body, I felt that it wasn't as tight as it could be. So for me, I know I can't do heavier than that, and I probably know that I can't do another set of that. I'm at my level of fatigue, where any more, any heavier it's gonna take too long for me to recover, for me to rest, to get back and repeat this next week. You have to understand that when you're training, you're breaking your body's tissue down. You're damaging tissue fibers. And it takes a while for the fibers to just regenerate, recuperate, get better, get stronger, get thicker, get bigger, whatever it may need to do, depending on what you're trying to do to the tissue. So if I train too hard, if I push myself and do another set of this, I might be able to do another 2 reps. And then maybe I might be able to do another 2 reps or 1 rep. But that level of effort is only going to push back my recovery, so that maybe next week, this time next week, I may not be able to do that exercise. Maybe it'll be the day after or the day after that. And it pushes back. So it's not always about going balls to wall as hard as you can, exhaust yourself on the floor. It depends on what you're trying to do to your body. Remember, this is a fundamentals class. I'm going heavy to illustrate my back position, and I'm also doing my back workout. I'm doing my RDL workout. Okay, so now I'm going to finish off with 2 sets of 10 at a more responsible weight. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do 2 sets of 10 over there. I'm dropping the weight just to get a different stimulus through my tissue and just to really exhaust the fibers in my hamstrings. Everything should be exactly the same. Because my grip is fatigued from the lift, I'm not going to be able to handle a neutral grip, so I'm going to do 1 awkward, 1 strong, and then we're done for the Romanian deadlifts. So I'm going to speed these up because you don't really need to see them. But again, hopefully my back position will be much better than that last set. I don't know if that last set was any good. Anyway, so strong with the awkward side grip. Doesn't feel that light. So now I'm just going to go a little bit quicker. Okay, so in wrapping up, let's have a recap from the floor upwards. 3 points of contact. Turn those knees out to create tension in the feet, tension in the knees. Soft knee creates tension in the IT band, creates tension in my TFR and into my glute. My ability to be able to rock, pump and grind my hips. If you can't do this, then forget about everything else. Once you've got this, if you can then move, you've been in the back position with the PVC pipe, you come to the front position with the PVC pipe, you've loaded the bar, your movement's exactly the same, you're driving your ischium, you're driving your ischium up to the ceiling, your hips to the ceiling, your back is strong, your back is straight, your chest is puffed up, taking a big breath, bracing your abdominals. Notice everything I'm talking about is tight, tension, brace, squeeze. When you're lifting weights, you've got to know what you're doing with regards to what you're doing. And unfortunately, coaches don't know what they're doing, so they're teaching you incorrectly in the first place, so it's all gonna fall by the wayside. Anyway, so that's the point why I'm here. Tension throughout your body, and then when you're tight, without this sounding hippy-dippy, you become one with the bar. When I'm tight with the bar, that's the one thing I wanted to talk about. You become tight with the bar, and you're one whole unit. When you see it around the gym, when you see people that are sloppy or they're doing this and their body's just sloppy, it's sloppy, and then you're soft, and then your body's just going to leverage on the joints, and then you're going to hurt yourself, and then you're going to come back, and then you're not going to want to train because you keep hurting yourself in the gym. Why? Because you're doing it wrong, or you're investing money in somebody that's also doing it wrong as well. My last point, and then I'll let you go. And this is probably one of the biggest, most important points to take home with you. So I hope you've got this far in the video. When you're holding the bar here, if I lean forwards, anyone leans forwards, you'll feel your toes grip into the ground. If I lean backwards, you'll feel my feet come up as I fall backwards. That's my center of gravity, moving forwards and moving backwards. If I was to bend over here and I move this bar forwards, I'm moving, at the moment my center of gravity is right between my feet. And the bar, because it's close on my hips, the bar is close to my center of gravity as well. So the bar is right in here. If I move this bar here, I'm moving forwards because my center of gravity is shifting beyond my feet. So when I'm here, excuse me, when I'm here and I'm tight, the bar has to stay in contact with your thighs. Down, all the way down, all the way back up. Slowly, 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 all the way down, all the way back up. If I move this bar forwards, one, this is no weight. This is a PVC pipe. And automatically it's pulling me forwards and it's a PVC pipe. So you imagine a bar, if I come down and I have the bar here, it's gonna pull me forwards. Now, that's not the problem. The problem is the center of gravity is moving up my spine. So there's a guy called Paul Check, for the coaches out there, shout out to Paul Check. For every inch that the bar moves, there is a increase of pressure by 7 on the spine. So as I'm moving up, if I'm holding 100 kilos and I move the weight 1 inch away, there is 700 kilos of pressure on my back. Now the back is strong, it can handle a lot of pressure, but why do I need to do that? Why not just keep the bar on my thighs, run it down and keep it here? What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna talk through this last set, and I want you to see the difference in the strain in my voice of me moving 1 inch away from my body. You have to have the bar in touch with your thighs the whole way through. Down, 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 down. I'm sliding the bar down my thighs. My back is staying straight. My hips are driving up. I'm in contact. So let's start again. Feet anchored in the ground, 3 points of contact. Rotating into that foot. Rotating the knee slightly out. Bending the knee. Hinge at the hips. Brace the abdominals. Shoulders are pulled back. Big chest, belly in and tight, and slide the bar down your thighs. So many things to think about. Why do you think it took me an hour? Okay, I'm not going to talk all the way through doing them, but on the first one, I'm going to talk to you about my position, then try and listen to my voice in the second one, in the second rep, as I try to move the bar away from me. Okay, so the bar is staying nice and close to my body, so you can tell by the stress in my voice. Now from here, as I take the stress away from me, now you can see the stress in my voice as I'm holding the bar away, but I immediately feel that in my back. And now when I'm down here, you hear there's still stress in my voice because the bar is heavy and I'm tired. But if I move away from my body, there's just a lot of stress that I have to counteract. Now I'm gonna guess that was 5. Let's speed up the last 5. That is a Romanian deadlift. 101, that is the hip hinge. Okay, so my last training tip, promise this is the last one. So the bar, your hand position should be a thumb width away from your thighs. If you're any closer, you may end up running your hands down your thigh, and if you have a heavy enough load, you'll run your thumb into your leg, and it's gonna be uncomfortable on your thumb, it's gonna be comfortable on your leg. So you don't wanna be too narrow. And if you're wide with your feet, you don't want to be too wide with your feet. It's going to force your hands to be a bit wider. So your feet are shoulder width apart anyway, but try and have your hands a thumb width away from your body. If you wanted to have more emphasis on your back and less on your hamstrings, you can do what we refer to as a snatch grip Romanian deadlift. Let me just put on the other video. I'm back again. I didn't record. The other camera I didn't press record. So I'm going to re-record this with your audio. I'll talk about using straps another time. But by using straps, my grip is much, much stronger. It's much more comfortable. Same thing again. Remember, turn these elbows back, puff the chest up, tension in the body. Up. Okay, short step, tall posture, take a breath. The position is exactly the same. The only difference is my hand position, and it's going to place a lot more stress on the upper back, and it really is a great exercise. The Romanian deadlift and the Snatch Grip Romanian deadlift are my favorite exercises anyway. That's taken me an hour, so for me, I'm more than happy to call that a day. So thank you for your patience, thank you for your perseverance. Romanian deadlift, the hip hinge 101. Thank you. Take care, bye.